Hello, hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a fabulous Wednesday today. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes and see if anybody shows up today. We did have quite a few people register for the class. So we're going to give it just a couple of minutes here just to give everybody the rundown. My name is Brandy, and I am the support director here at Details Flower Software. And today we are going to be going over the authorized users area of Details. We have made quite a few different adjustments here recently. So we're going to go over those new features as well as the features that currently allow you to send new team member invites or remove or edit any of your current team members. Looks like we still got some people coming in. Lovely. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in just a second. Before I get started, I do want to mention that we are going to be going through the entire page today, and then at the very end, we will open it up for Q&A. So if you have questions during the presentation, to go ahead and put those right there in the chat. Otherwise, we will open it up for Q&A at the end, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Lovely. Go ahead and open up my chat and participant window. All right, perfect. So to get started on our class today, I am already on the authorized users page. However, to access this page, you'll go to the main menu and click on settings and then authorized users. This is going to take you over to your authorized users page where it will list out any of the authorized users that you currently have. If it's just yourself so far, then you'll see yourself listed up here under current team members. Otherwise, you may have additional team members here. Each team member is going to be assigned a different role. So I am a super admin, so that one is not available to Details users, but you guys will have the option to choose from owner, manager, or employee. So what are the differences? The owner and manager are going to be able to access any event within Details. They can go in there and make edits and changes and things. The manager is not going to have access to be able to change out the subscription plan, and the owner is going to have all of the above, and they also will be able to go in and make any changes there to the subscription. On this area, you can change people's roles after they have become a current team member, and we'll go over that process in just a moment. But the way that you'll change out their roles is just by clicking on that drop-down menu, and you can adjust it as such. So to get started with sending out new team member invites, you're going to click on that Send Team Member Invite button, and you can go ahead and put that person's first name, last name, and email. And then right here is where you can select that person's role. I'm going to go ahead and do employee, and then we're going to send that invitation off. Once you do that, down here at the bottom, it's going to list out all of the invited users. This is going to encompass people who may have already accepted a user invitation, people that maybe you sent an invitation to but never actually accepted that invite, very much so like the test contacts that I have right here. And then you'll also have anyone that you have just sent an invite to listed here as well. Each invite does start off with an expiration date of 3 days. So at the end of that 3 days, the email that is sent over to them is no longer going to be valid. So they'll have that link there still in the email if they open it on the 4th day, but when they click on it, it will let them know that they need to reach out for a new invitation. If you want to extend that expiration period, though, you can click on the drop-down menu and you can select any dates between 1 and 30. So you can adjust that at any point. Also right here, you can change the rollout for each person before they accept the invitation. So if you like accidentally send it out as an employee and you wanted them to be in there as a manager, you can come in and adjust that role here and then click the save button down here at the bottom. Do keep in mind though, per our my previous conversation is basically that anyone who's marked as an employee here in details is not going to have access to all events. So they're only going to have access to events that either they have created themselves or that they have been assigned to by either an owner or a manager. Employees will also not have access to this authorized users page. So they can't come on here and change their role, anybody else's role, anything like that. So they just won't have access to this page. If they try to access this page, it's just going to send them right back over to the event list. In addition to the addition of expiration dates and being able to resend an invitation, we've also added a privacy mode toggle. So for anyone who's not familiar with privacy mode, this is something that any user in details can enable on their account. This is done per user and not per company. So what that will do is basically when you turn on the privacy mode, it's going to hide all your back-end costs. So your markup, the cost that you're paying to the wholesaler, any of the financial columns on the event list, such as like grand total, pre-tax total, any of that information is not going to show. They also will not have access to the cost page. So that's going to be that order page where you can print out your list of items that you need for an event or request a quote from any of our partnered wholesalers. So they will not have access to that if they have privacy mode enabled. For employees, you now have the option though to manually turn that privacy mode on. If you are a manager and you come in here and you turn that privacy mode on for your employee, they will not be able to turn it back off. It's something, it's called enforced privacy mode. We had a lot of people that were wanting to basically prevent some levels of employees from accessing things like costs on your items, your recipes, see what markup you're using, things like that. And so we've added this option for you to come in and toggle that on if you so choose. Additionally, in the upper right-hand corner here, we have our menu option. And you can then enforce privacy mode for all newly created employees. So instead of going in here and manually clicking this to on for each individual employee, you can turn on that toggle right here. And then anytime you send an invitation that has a role of employee, they will automatically have privacy mode enabled. So you won't need to do any additional work here. At the very top of the page, you're also going to see how many included users you have in your plan. So this will vary depending on your plan type, when you started your plan, things like that. So at the top, you're going to see how many you have included. If you don't have any included, you can always add additional users for $25 per month. I do know that we also have some legacies that are still on a previous rate. So if anybody has any questions about their included users or adding additional users and the cost to do so, feel free to reach back out. We'd be happy to assist you further with that. Just like every other area of the site, this also allows you to see deleted members. So for example, if you want to see any of your deleted team members and maybe you restore them, or down here at the bottom, if you want to see the number of invited users and who has been invited, if you may have deleted them, you can go in here and it'll appear the same way that these do, and it'll have a little restore icon for you to come in here and restore those users. All right, so when you send a new team member invite, just so everyone kind of knows the process there, the team member that you have entered their email address is going to receive an email. In that email, it's going to have steps for them to go in and set up their account. It's going to allow them to have their own username and password here for them to log in. We highly recommend that each person that's using details has their own login. or the purpose of keeping a paper trail on things. So I'm going to actually go ahead and leave this page here for a moment, and I'm going to go over into one of my events to show you what I'm talking about. This is going to be especially important if you have like a large company, or if you're working with a large number of events, because it's going to allow you to keep track of who is changing what and when. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just choose my Jessica Jones here. So first and foremost, on the client info section under logged notes and events, you're going to see an area here for logging new activity. So you've probably seen this area before, but I also want to mention that as you start adding authorized users, they're going to show up here as an option in your representatives. This is going to be extremely important when you look back and say, okay, who had that interaction with this person? When was the last time that we met with them? Where did we leave off with them? Things like that. And it will allow you to choose a representative here. So that way, if you have questions, or if the client has questions later on down the line, you can come back here and see who it was that had that interaction with them and go straight to that source. Going into the event itself, down here at the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see an area for team access. So this is where you're going to assign team members. So back on the other page for authorized users, I mentioned that employees are only going to have access to events that either they've created or that they are assigned to by either an owner or a manager. So this is where you would assign those team members. You can click on the drop-down box and select the person that you want to assign and click Add Team Member. This is going to be extremely helpful when you're pulling reports for each individual team member. So if you want to see, how many events was Susan on in the month of January, you can go to your event list. You can dwindle down your search criteria by event lead. And then also you can do like event date before and after and run a report there to show how many events that person had. Additionally, on that event list, we also have all of those financial columns. So if you're looking at, okay, how much did this one person do in sales this month? Another great way to go ahead and pull that list is by utilizing that team lead, which will only show up and only be able to search by if you have them here in that team access section. Moving on to the worksheet area here. So anytime that you make a save on the worksheet, we always recommend that you save a version. The reason being is so that you can go back and forth between your different versions, and also so you can keep track of when and what has changed. So let me just go ahead and make a couple of changes here, and I'm going to save this as my version. I can go ahead and give it a name. So I'm going to just say I gave quantities. And I'll go ahead and save that. And then in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to have our options menu. And this is where we see our load version area. So this is going to show you each time someone has saved a version on this worksheet, when they saved it, and then who it was by. So this is going to be where you can keep track of who's making what changes. And again, you're only going to be able to do that if you have, everybody has their own login information. We get a lot of people that they go in there and they're all under the same login, and they're saving over each other. And when you come here on this version, it just looks like all one person. But really it's multiple people, but you'd never know that if you don't always, you don't all have your own login. So it's extremely important that you all have your own login. And then the last section is going to be over here on this cost page. So if you are utilizing our RFQ system or our request for quote system here with your wholesalers that we have partnered here, it's going to allow you to send and receive quotes. You can see any changes that were made, but also who made those changes. So in the case of, let me just go ahead and I'm going to pick JetFresh here. On the activity log, it's going to tell me each time a request was started, if I accepted the quote, if I went in and made changes, if the wholesaler went in and made changes, and it's going to list out who it was that did it. So again, it's going to have that nice tracking there to see who it was that sent out the quote, when they sent it, any changes they made, things like that. And then they can also have conversations right here in the messages area, and it will again show who it was that had the interaction. So you can again go back and kind of look at that further as well. All right, so going back over here into our settings and authorized users, I do want to open the floor to see if anyone has any questions about any of the new features, enabling privacy mode, being able to send different authorized user invitations to people, changing out their roles, adding expiration dates, resending an invitation, or anything like that. Go ahead and give it a couple minutes here. While we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions, though, I do also want to mention that just like you can add additional users in here, you can always come in and remove them. I have gotten questions in the past from people that wanted to know, I've sent this invitation out, this person no longer works for me. Can I go ahead and delete that user from my account? The answer is yes. So you can always come in there and do that on your own. You're going to do that by clicking on the X to the right, and this has to be in the current team members area. Once you click on that X, you're going to also want to make sure to click on that save button at the bottom so that we can successfully remove them from your account. If you don't click on this save button here at the bottom, it will not save that change, and that person will still have access to the account. So just to keep that in mind. Other things that I have had questions on as far as authorized users go is, if you create an authorized user and then at some point a new person comes in and they want to take over that authorized user spot, can I update the names and emails and things associated with that particular login? And the answer is yes, of course. So let's just say, for example, myself, if I were to be switched out with somebody else and they wanted to put their information on there, I can log into that particular login. So you will need that person's username and password. If you don't have the password, there's always a forgot password option that's on the login page as well. And from there, you're going to go up to the top right-hand corner under My Account. And that's going to take you to a page where you're going to be able to adjust all of the information for that user. It is important that you are logged in as that user because this screen is on a per user basis. So every time that I come to this particular area of details, even if I'm in another account or if I'm in the details account, it's still going to show up with my information. So once I'm logged in as that person, I can come in and change out my names here, the email address. I can go ahead and change out the password here as well. And then I can change out my photo on the left-hand side also. Any changes that I make, I'm going to want to go ahead and click that save button down at the bottom here as well. All right, so it looks like we don't have any questions, but it also looks like this is going to be a short tips and tricks today. We've covered everything to do with the authorized user section. If anybody does have any questions or anything that you want to go back over again, you can always reach out to our team by using that chat bubble in the bottom left-hand corner here. But you can also reach out to us by email or by phone. Both of those bits of information are going to be found under support in the contact us form, and you'll be able to find our email, phone number, and also schedule a 15-minute call. So I thank you all for joining us today, and I hope that you have a wonderful Wednesday. And for anybody who is participating in Valentine's Day that's coming up, I hope that you get lots of rest prior to that, and that you have a great, very fruitful holiday. Thanks so much, everybody.